Good afternoon, everyone. So today we are proud to have our second episode of our newly titled podcast that's called A While Back. We have both Dad, Grandpa, and Mom, Grandma with us today. Today's episode number 2 is going to be titled Mom. So we're going to get Mom's insight into how she was brought up, the dynamics of the house in which she lived, responsibilities, things of that nature. As well, we're going to talk about her grandparents and what she remembers most about them. So going forward, the whole concept was to have had 3 generations. Unfortunately, we will not be able to do that because the young lady I wanted, our niece Kate, will not be able to do it because she has a job and she's really busy right now. But what we are going to do is we're going to bring on each individual grandchild. We're hoping we can get everybody together. And we're going to have them speak to what they've heard of the podcast so far and speak to things that they heard from both Grandpa and Grandma and from myself. And we're going to see how they react to most of these things. And for each of them as well, we're going to find out where they are going forward in life, what their career plans are, whatever they may have going on. We're going to bring that up to them going forward. So we're going to be looking forward to that somewhere down the line. It's just going to take a little while for the logistics of it. But first off today, let's talk to Mom. So Mom, I can tell you're excited about being here.
Oh, yeah.
Number 1, we have to lay down some ground rules. Please do not cuss. No F-bombs or anything else going on.
You either.
So we want to make sure going forward that you feel completely comfortable. Have you heard, read, or seen a single question whatsoever on today?
No, because you wouldn't let me.
Perfect. All right, I just want to make sure because as we stated on the very first podcast, this will be real-time, real-world answers. And that's what we're looking forward to today from you. All right, let's get started. So now, number 1, go on and introduce yourself. Your name, where you were born, if you're still married.
Teresa Packard. I was born in Victoria, Texas. Maybe 11. I won't tell you what year. Married 52 years to Grandpa. 4 kids.
Outstanding.
10 wonderful grandchildren. Oh, I couldn't have been blessed more.
You're missing 2 again, like he did.
I have 10.
You have Mahogany and you have Morgan coming. Oh, there we go.
Well, yes, our in-laws are wonderful girls. They're
Yes.
so special. They fit in perfectly. Yes,
All
that's
right.
12.
So now, a lot of
You
these
can correct me on that.
a lot of these are going to be pretty close to the exact same kind of questions that we asked Dad. All right, just so you know in advance. So how many siblings do you have, and who are they from oldest to youngest? We know the oldest is Uncle Leonard,
Yes.
but how many did you have total siblings?
8.
8 total?
Yes. There was Leonard, then there was Pat, then there was Harry, Clyde, myself, and then there was little Charles Hendry. He lived 3 days. And then there was Dorothy, and then Joe, and then Marion.
All right, good. Okay. So now, in Telfner, where you were brought up,
Yeah.
all right, Grandma was always the one in charge.
Yes.
And we're well aware that Grandma was in charge of everything in the house.
She taught me everything I know.
That's right. That's right. And she was an incredible woman. I still think the world of Grandma to this day. And we're extremely sad that she is no longer with us. But what was your responsibility or responsibilities around the house on a daily basis? What would Grandma make sure that you were doing?
The whole family did it. It wasn't just one do this, that, or the other.
Oh, it wasn't?
Everybody pitched in and everybody did what needed to be done.
Okay, good.
I mean, when you have one bathroom in a house with 10 people in the house, everybody gonna do something.
So who was it then that would do the dishes? Anybody and everybody?
Well, yeah.
All right.
Not the boys.
Okay, so that's why I'm
The
asking this.
girls.
So regarding the household duties inside the house, dishes, cleaning, laundry, that was strictly for the young ladies in the house.
Yes.
All right. So outside,
4 girls and 4 boys.
4 girls and 4 boys, right?
Yeah.
So outside the home, in the front yard, the backyard, everywhere else, the trees and everything, I'm assuming that was Uncle Leonard, Uncle Harry, Uncle Clyde, and Uncle Joe that took care of the rest of that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Now, can you remember, did anybody throughout the entire time that y'all were all there together, did Uncle Leonard already have a job where he would have to leave and somebody else would have to take over whatever he would primarily do? How would it work out when the
Yeah.
older ones started leaving the
Leonard
house?
left first because he went to the railroad, so he was the first to take off. And then, of course, as soon as everyone graduated, everyone left as soon as they graduated. Graduation, and then everyone left. And then the boys, Clyde and Harry, went into the Air Force, and Pat went to the convent for a few years, and I went to nursing in Yoakum. Everybody left as soon as they graduated. And then the younger ones stayed at home.
Okay, so the younger ones were primarily Uncle Joe and Aunt Marion? Okay, good, all right.
And when I was in high school, I would work after school. As soon as I got out of school, and I'd stay and work at my Papa Joe's restaurant or cafe. Every day you'd be there working, even on Saturdays. We were closed on Sundays, thank goodness. And we would work in the cafe there.
Immediately after school?
Yep, every day.
Till dark, till however long the cafe was open?
Usually 9 o'clock.
Till 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So the family dynamics, and I'd ask Dad the same kind of question. So in the house, you had a very large span between Uncle Leonard and Aunt Marion. Okay. So what was that like? Would you interact primarily with just Aunt Dorothy and Pat? How would the family dynamics work?
We were all together, fighting together and playing together. We were all together. And in the evenings at Telfiner, you had the east side and the west side. We were on the east side. And you'd be a group of kids, a whole cluster of kids walking the streets of Telfiner at night, having fun, walking and talking and cutting up, never damaged, nothing bad, just fun. That's what you did at Telfiner at night.
I didn't know this.
Went and walked the streets. We never saw the kids that lived on the west side. Those were, to us, considered the high society. Now, I do have a couple of in-laws that came from that east side, that west side, but they're normal people. They're all right.
Okay. So there was two different sides to tiny little Telfiner.
Yes.
Really? There was a west side and east side.
You better believe it. We stayed on our east side.
And the west side was a more prominent side of Telfiner.
To us it was. Yes.
Wow. See, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And Grandma had us take mail to all these little old ladies that lived on the east side with us. We'd get their mail every day and take them their mail. Dawn, Miss Urick, Miss, can't think of that one's name, and then Miss Gentry. It was 3 little old ladies. And we'd take them their mail every day. Us kids had to do that.
Well, that was good. Outstanding. Now, how often would you, Grandma, and as many of the kids as y'all could get together, go and visit great-grandpa and great-grandma? How often would y'all make it to Tatum?
Tatum, we would go there, I think maybe once a month, I would think. Maybe.
Once a month?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
Oh, that was fun. And now, also, Grandpa and Grandma Drastada lived in Tatum. Grandma and Grandpa Mark lived in El Campo, so after we visited in Tatum, we would, most of the time, not always, but we would go and visit the Marks on the other side of El Campo. It's like 2 sides there, too. But it was fun. She had oohs of plum trees, and we had cousins. Grandma had 60 grandkids.
Drastada or Mark?
Grandma Drastada.
Okay. 60
grandkids. And it was a bunch of us, and we had all kinds of fun out there in the country. And I know when I was younger, we'd go and pick cotton out there, too.
For fun?
Well, for us it was fun because we went to Grandma and Grandpa's. We enjoyed being there. They weren't strict with you. They let you just pick what you could pick. And Grandpa had watermelons, always so many watermelons you could eat.
I still remember that.
And I ate one time so much that I ended up in the hospital. I really got sick. So
Wow.
I don't know if something was on the watermelon or what, but I got sick and ended up in the hospital, and I have not ate cold watermelon since then. I just eat regular watermelon.
Oh, wow.
Well, not eat cold watermelon.
So now, this one I know that I'm sorry.
But I didn't tell you about the Marks.
Oh, okay, go on.
Then we'd go to the Marks.
All right.
And we would have a barbecue there, too. And Grandpa Mark would play his harmonica, and Papa Joe would play his accordion, and they had music going, and it was singing them Bohemian songs, and it was so much fun back then.
Good, all right.
We had a lot of cousins, but not nowhere near maybe 20 cousins.
So with that larger family, would y'all take 2 cars to get there, or how would it work
No,
out?
we did the same thing like them. You squash
8 of y'all into
one.
one car?
Yeah.
Wow.
8 kids.
8 kids, all right. Now, this one, I know you're going to have some things that you remember specifically about Grandma Justada because she lived so much longer. But Grandpa Giustata was, I'm not going to use the word Renaissance man, but Grandpa Giustata was an extremely educated man.
Very talented.
So if you could, I'd like for you to give us some more insight into what exactly about Grandpa Giustata made him so much different than everybody else around. I know he was a carpenter. He was a phenomenal farmer.
Giustata, Mark was the carpenter.
Oh, Mark was the carpenter. Okay. So Giustata was
He
a
was a
farmer. And what else about
And
him?
he wrote for the Houston Post.
That's right.
Wrote for Prague in Czechoslovakia. He wrote for their newspaper also. And he spoke 5 fluent languages, all learned by himself. He was very, very smart.
That's outstanding. So this was one thing that you just mentioned. You said in Prague. So both Grandpa and Grandma Giustata immigrated from Prague?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So from Czechoslovakia at the time, not the Czech Republic today. Okay, great. All right. So with Grandma, and I'm just talking about your mom now, Grandma Mark.
Mm-hmm.
So how was she able to support such a large family and keep everybody in clothes? Because we know how expensive clothes are. Keep everybody fed. How was Grandma able to do that?
You passed clothes down. You didn't buy clothes.
Okay,
like
there you go. All right.
You let everyone wear them till they wore out. You didn't just throw clothes away.
So how was she able to
That's why
support?
I save everything.
That's not why, but how was she able to support such a large family?
They sold all their clothes.
Mama just stayed at home and worked and worked and worked. And Papa Joe brought the money in. But Mama never had a job. She was always at home working and doing everything.
She was keeping up with all those kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So did your older siblings, like Uncle Leonard and Pat, did they have to get jobs at a really early age? What's the earliest you remember them going off to work?
Oh, everyone was working early. God. I know I started in, I'd say in junior high, maybe 4th or 5th grade, started cleaning boards. And the government had some kind of program going that if you cleaned there, they would pay you, And I used to clean boards and erasers and stuff at school.
Oh, chalkboards and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Make a little extra money.
And you don't remember what age,
For me or for them?
for you starting your first job?
Like I said, probably around 6th, 7th grade.
6th or 7th grade, you started your first job?
Yeah.
All right. Because that was my next question.
That's for getting paid, yeah.
Yeah, because that was my next question, but you already answered it. Good. So now, these are kind of the same way questions that I'd ask Dad as well. So when did you first learn to drive, and who taught you to drive?
I couldn't even answer that one.
You don't remember?
I know Leonard gave me money to buy my first car.
Okay, see, that's another question.
It
Good.
was $500, and he loaned it to me because I was working.
Right.
And with my little change, I would pay him back. I paid him back, and I bought me a, what was it, a 57 Chevy?
No, 60.
60 Chevy.
60
Oh,
Bel Air.
that was a beautiful car. Used to drive it with ball tars. And went here to Yoakum a lot.
Yeah, he talked about
So
Yoakum a lot
true.
too. All right.
So true.
So you bought that with the money you were making at
Yes.
another job already. So
Well,
what other job were you working at that time?
Well, with Papa Joe's working.
Okay, so at the
Mama
cafe.
would pay us, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Not Papa Joe.
All right. So when and where did you first meet Dad? Because I want to see if your story is fairly close to the same as his. So when and where did y'all first meet?
The first time I ever saw him
Tell the truth.
was at the cafe where
Oh, really?
I was working. He came in there before, what was it? Lennon's. He had
Yeah, I
Lennon's.
was.
And of course, I was always there. And I wouldn't even talk to him. I just totally ignored him. And Edward, the cook we had back then, he'd always tease me as soon as Norbert left. I'd get a glass of water and I'd bless that man all the time. He got blessed. So many times he would tease me and I'd just throw water on him.
That was a blessing, was throwing water.
That was
Yeah.
a blessing.
Okay, that's about right.
I enjoyed that.
I'm not surprised
I had
by
to
that.
get back at him.
So what convinced you?
And then I met him later.
Okay, good. So what convinced you to finally go out with him? What convinced you that maybe I could take a chance
Not
on this
good
guy?
looks.
When I first met him, it was Ray Wilson in Victoria. My friend and I came in from Yoakum with our ball tires and all, and we were having something to drink and eat, and car hops back then. and this red car drove up on the side of us, and there was two guys there, and the one driving, the doofus had his graduation ring turned upside down, like as if he was a married man. Oh my God! We said, "Look how silly."
Yeah, don't say that.
Look how
Stupid.
silly.
Look how silly is what she said.
Oh, she said
Silly.
silly. Oh.
And
Sorry,
so anyway,
Sophia.
then they started talking to us, and we finally started talking to him. And then he found out I was from Yoakum, so then he ended up coming to Yoakum. And when I first saw him, I didn't want any part of him.
Oh, that's a lie.
Well, what's a lie? What do you mean that's a lie?
Because
It's her story.
She melted like a
Oh,
sugar in water.
that's not what she's saying right now.
Well,
But then after I got to know him, then it was good. But first I had to straighten him up and make sure he knew he was a good fella there.
Well, you want to make sure he was who
I
you
wanted
said
to
he was.
make sure, yes.
Okay,
yes.
that makes sense.
I didn't go out with just anybody. Like they think with their famous rings.
So, what changed the most for you? Because as soon as you and Dad got married, how old were you at that point?
20?
You were 20 years old. So you were literally,
Almost 21.
I was going to say, you weren't even legal to drink beer, but you already were married.
Yeah.
And by 21 was when I came along, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So at that point in time, what changed the most for you in your world when you got married and realized, oh man, I got number one on the way? What changed for you?
Dang. It's a wonderful feeling. It's just so different. Everything basically changes.
tell him what changed. He cried like a baby all
Oh,
night.
that's till he came.
Oh, no. We're not talking about that. No. All right. So where did each of our names come from? Because I wanted to get that from Dad in the last episode, but unfortunately we ran too long. And when I did ask him, his response was he didn't have anything to do with it. That you were the one that came up with the names.
Well, he liked them so.
Okay, so it's just tell me where each of our four names.
You know where yours came
Yeah,
from.
I was a tough one to figure out.
I'll
Let's just
tell
put a J and an
you.
R at the end of
I'll
it.
tell you.
All right, thank you for that. Now let's go on
I
into
knew you'd be a big mouth like him.
exactly. So let's go on into Brian. Where did you come up with Brian's name?
I heard the name Brian and I liked it, and I didn't like some of them other spellings, so I went with the one that I liked.
So you didn't
Dad
like
said that was good.
you didn't like the YAN?
No, I didn't like that.
All right, good. And what about Brenda? Where did you come up with Brenda's name?
I heard that name also, and I liked that name, and I said I'm gonna put Ann on there for me, Brenda Ann,
Brenda
after
Ann?
me.
Okay, good.
Teresa Ann.
So where did Stephen come from now? The last
Stephen
one.
was another. I think when I was in church and I saw it in the missalette, I said, "Oh, I like that Stephen," so I went with Stephen.
All right, good. So did y'all ever have any kind of a disagreement about what each of the child's names were going to be? So he just literally caved into everything.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't
was
into
like-
names.
He sure talks a big
Like-
game.
Like a lump of sugar, man. I
Yeah,
just know.
exactly.
He's
You
got
caved in.
Norbert Paul.
Yeah, he caved in. All right, so now and I asked Dad this question too, but out of all the celebrities that have ever lived,
Oh,
it doesn't even have to be a celebrity. So in your case, let's talk about anybody, a saint, whatever you want. If you could have somebody at the podcast here right now in this episode that you would like to ask questions of, who would it be?
Mama.
Grandma Mark?
Yep.
Oh, me too. I'm glad you said that.
That's when you said saint. She come from
Exactly.
my
I
mind. She had
couldn't
a
agree with
hard,
you
hard
more.
life. She taught us that family rosary, how to kneel down and pray
Yes, that was
at
outstanding.
night.
She was a phenomenal woman. There's no doubt about that. Exactly. Now, this one is probably going to ruffle some feathers between you and Dad,
Uh-oh.
but
Oh.
I got to make sure I ask it anyway. So I know that Dad wouldn't lie because Dad has never lied about anything.
I
and
can unravel
he has
him
not-
pretty quick.
He has
Yeah,
not.
right.
He hasn't had any kind of revision with history either. But I want to know why. The only reason you were attracted to him was because of his red sports car.
Oh, no.
It was.
I wasn't attracted to him till I got
You heard
to
her
know
say.
him.
Oh,
You
Till
heard her
I
say
got
she
to
wasn't
know
attracted
him.
to me.
Oh.
I told you I had to know who he was first.
Oh, so that was just all
Thank
made up on his
God.
part.
Oh yeah,
Thank
a red
God.
car. He's the one that gave me the red car. I didn't ask for the red car.
Oh,
He
wow.
gave me the red car.
That's not the impression he gave us on episode 1.
Grandpa.
All right. So now this one is easy enough. We know that you have it's going to be 12 grandkids. You have 10 of them that are aged from Tyler, the youngest, and then all the way up. So what I want you to do is I want you to name each of them. But you're not going to do it the way Dad did. I want you to go from youngest to oldest.
Okay, but Mahogany and Morgan. We'll
There's a
start with
separate,
those.
right.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. Then there's Tyler. There's Sophia. There is Liney, because it's a big difference between those two. And then there is Kyle, and then there's Justin, and then there's Kate, and then there's Jacob, and then there's Zach, and then there's Jarrett. Who did I leave out? Jacob was right there.
This one,
Forgot
the
Jacob.
very top.
Oh, Alec. Alec, he was one with the girls. Alec.
Okay, so you
Jarrett
had
was the
Alec
first
as the
one I
oldest. That's
saw.
right. Okay, good. All
I
right.
was there for Jarrett.
All right. So now we had everybody that was going to be talked about on this because you and I had laid ground rules, and that's what we were going to talk about was just certain things. And absolutely positively, I felt like we stayed within those ground rules. So is there anything else that you remember, anything else you want to talk about, anything else you want to bring to light about how phenomenal Grandma was? Anything in particular that you remember that you'd love for everybody to hear right now with him?
Grandma always made sure we went to church every Sunday. We would sit in the third bench at St. Mary's. That bench was Mark's. The whole bench was full. That was our sitting place. She was just so wonderful. She taught us all to pray. She had the family consecrated to the Sacred Heart. I think that was in '56. And she kept that prayer going, and it goes today. All the grandkids and everyone knows that prayer. Yes.
Absolutely.
Family consecration to the Sacred Heart. And she did so good with what little she had to work with. She had it rough. She had a very, very hard life. So Papa Joe was a different person, just put it that way.
Okay. All right, good. All right, well, I think that we're about done with today's episode, unless there's anything else. Dad, did you want to ask Mom a question?
Oh, well, I think what on your grandpa and grandma just side, what they did, they were farmers, but Grandpa raised a lot of watermelons.
Right, she said
And,
watermelon.
that's the thing about it. And then Grandpa Mark, again, like
Oh,
she
yeah,
said,
he was a carpenter.
he was a carpenter.
He was the carpenter,
He was
yeah.
a
And actually,
very
he built,
good-
he was a real good carpenter, and
Very
he built their house. Didn't he build your house,
No.
Grandpa? I thought he
I
did.
was hoping that one of the grandsons would become a carpenter.
Well, we
Should
still
have
got a
been
few
married
that
it, 'cause-
we still got a few running around. Maybe one of them will.
No, we gotta leave those two where they're at.
But
So-
then also you had your uncles and Uncle, well, who was it?
What did they do?
Your uncles, the ones that were the oldest ones. George. Who's the one in New York? I mean in Chicago. Johnny, yeah.
George is in
Chicago, and then
Yeah.
Johnny was in
Johnny,
Dallas.
Henry,
Then,
Charles, and Jerry.
yeah,
I had 13 aunt and
on the
uncles
other
on
side.
grandma's side.
And then,
She had 13.
Well, you say great grandma and grandpa had 60
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
or grandchildren.
13 grandkids. They had 13 kids.
13
They
kids,
had
but 60 grandchildren.
Grandchildren.
Right,
yes,
grandchildren.
period.
Okay, good.
But
all
then
right.
also on the Mark side, you had Uncle Johnny over there in El Campo. And we
Johnny
still
Mark.
visit with him when we go to
Yeah.
El Campo at times.
He's 89.
He's
And there are two aunts there. One's 94, I think. and one's
95 or
90.
95, I think.
Two aunts
Agnes.
left
And-
there. One
Agnes
aunt
is
just
like
passed from
93.
there.
And that's still in El Campo?
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
well, one's in Sugarland,
Yeah.
right? Houston,
Missouri City.
Agnes.
Missouri City.
Well, good. All right. Yeah, because I knew
So-
great grandpa Justado was quite the scholar
Yes, he
compared to
was.
anybody else I
Oh,
had.
yeah, he was. He was very
So I was always impressed by that.
Hmm.
And great grandma, whoo, she could light up a kitchen.
Oh.
She had some good. Every
But-
time I'd come there, she would give me homemade grape jelly
Yes.
with cream, fresh cream, and homemade bread. Ooh, wee! Grandma knew I loved that stuff.
It's funny that you talk about that because I was telling Marty the other day because we were talking about when was the first time we had tasted coffee. I said I remember exactly what it was. It was at Grandma Mark's, and Grandma let us put in all the sugar and cream that we wanted. So we were more than wired by the time we were through with the cup of coffee. So
That's like him.
And
He
then
gave Tyler coffee
Oh,
already.
unbelievable.
And also when we'd go to Grandpa and Grandma Dosadas, Their main thing was always to have their wine to drink. They
Yeah,
always
good.
drank a glass of wine.
every night they had to
Yeah.
have their Morgan David
I
wine.
think that's why they lived so long.
Outstanding. All right, good. Okay, so is there anything else you want to add, Mom?
Nope.
No?
I think that's all. Think of anything. I'll probably think of everything afterwards.
Well, you're
Yeah.
still
But if
be-
you would have asked me the questions ahead of time, I
No, that's
could've
not the way
told
this
you
thing works. We
more.
have to have it real time. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you back for the next couple of episodes as well. Now, these are important that you're here because you're going to have to keep people's stories straight. That's why you're
Do you think
here
I
to
would
make
lie
sure-
on this podcast?
Well,
There
she
is
just
no
said you
way.
did about the red card in the
Oh.
first place. So there we go.
She's exaggerating.
So,
But
all right. So I tell you what, we're going to go on and end this thing.
exaggeration is good at times,
Is it?
I guess.
All right. So, Dad, is there anything else that you want to say?
Let me tell you something else.